I'm very, very, very excited about ritual design, and I hope that I can inspire you with this talk a little bit more as well. How are you all feeling? You're okay? Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Australian, so I need a bit of, crowd participation there as well. So yeah, it's a great honor. I hope to inspire you over the next, 25 minutes. All right, 20 minutes, come on. About what rituals are, why they're important for us to be conscious about, what good rituals and characteristics they have, and also a bit of a warning, which hopefully will inspire you to take rituals a little bit more seriously in the way that you work and the way that you create products for others. All right, let's do this. So yeah, like I said, I was born on Friday the 13th. I'm from Australia. And for those paying close attention, my initials are actually ABC. It's good to see that my parents had a good sense of humor. In my professional life, I am the lead service designer, or one of the lead service designers at TaxFix. Some would say that taxes are probably the most hated ritual that we have known to mankind. Whoever created this ritual, I have to talk with them. But yeah, so I'm dealing with taxes most of my time now, but previously I was also working at Zalando. Anyone know Zalando? It's this, yeah, fashion, whatever. But I'm also really passionate about bike culture, coffee culture, go the Italians, and also about building great communities as well. So community is something that I really value, and being and belonging to communities is something that I think is really, really powerful and very human. I think we've already talked about this a couple of times in a couple of previous talks, so it seems to be a theme that we're talking about, especially as our communities were really disrupted in the time of the pandemic, how we interacted with people, how we belonged with people. I keep having these conversations where friends don't know other friends, and I'm like, but you belong to my community, and I really see this segmentation there as well. So in that regard, I also run the service design drinks in Berlin. Yes, I'm Berlin-based. And if you want to come party, go clubbing, or come to a design talk in Berlin, just hit me up. But yeah, so I'm really passionate about rituals, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of story why. So I'm a designer. I count myself very, very lucky to be a designer. I really, really love design. I mean, who ever thought of when you were a kid that there would be problem solving, you get to play with Lego, you get to draw stuff? I mean, it's the dream job. And also, yes, even like solving difficult problems like tax, yeah, I'm still really passionate about those things. But there's always a but, there's a but. And but sometimes I feel a little bit disconnected from the way that we do design or do our work in general. Can I just have a hands up? Who's felt a little bit disconnected through the pandemic from their work, why they're doing what they're doing? Anyone ever felt like that before? Good, I'm not alone. Whew, I was starting to freak out there. No, yeah, so I produce service journeys or maybe pitch decks that end up in someone's drawer. I'm dealing with an endless checklist of GDPR. And other times that management has just had this great idea to pivot all of our work and do something completely different, which makes my last 6 months kind of useless. So sometimes you're like, oh, what the hell is going on? I thought I could actually find some sense of purpose in what I'm doing. I mean, that's the dream, right? So yeah. I think we can also see that a little bit in what's happening on LinkedIn. Has anyone used LinkedIn here? Good, yeah, cool. LinkedIn, yeah, okay. It's the social media for those professionals. It's where you can actually talk professional, but not all people do. Anyway. So yeah, you can see that by this quiet quitting, the frustration with Gen Z and their kind of roles of not being so fulfilled by their work. Thankfully, the younger generation is saying what we're all thinking. It seems to be the trend, but also the huge job migration that's been recently happening on LinkedIn. Who's recently just started a new job in the last 6 months to a year? Yeah, so I mean, that's actually more than I thought. So there you go. I mean, that's really representative of the kind of shift that is happening in our work culture today. So for me, this disbelonging and disassociation with the work that we're doing wasn't always the case. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I grew up very religious. Some might say that I was part of a cult, but I tried to distance myself from that. You need to confirm your password, by the way. So I grew up very religious. I grew up in a Pentecostal church. That's the American praise Jesus, amen, yeah, all of this kind of stuff. I I really did all of that stuff. I really loved it, actually. Actually, I look back on this time really, really happily and excited and with a lot of love and appreciation for what it gave me in my life. You know, there was always that famous saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's what I've tried to do as much as possible. I tried to learn from this experience and how it impacted my life and the lessons that it taught me growing up. I'm no longer part of any religious group or the church for that matter. I moved to Berlin and joined the Church of Berghain. Berghain is a really famous club in Berlin, so sorry. That was a Berlin joke. Yeah, sorry. Different context. But it was a place where I felt really connected. I felt really acknowledged. I felt like I could be myself and that people loved me for who I was, which was really, really powerful. I felt like I had a mission, a purpose there, and I felt that whoever else was in that community was there for me and I was there for them. And so Alain Berton, the founder of School of Life, also kind of talks about this in his Atheism 2.0 talk, where he says there's a certain power in these systems that have been developed over millennia. I mean, we still celebrate them, even like Christmas or, Easter, these kind of Catholic or Christian rituals, but also rituals throughout our culture, traditions, so to speak. And I think that we can also learn from this society and not be a part of it and still, like a designer in this way, to actually learn from it. So what I found was the secret sauce for this, great community, great place was also, I think the password confirmation has killed the person. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. So what I also found was actually what made it so impactful was the things that we did on a repetitive basis. So the things that we did were rituals. So it wasn't just the small group talk that we did with my small community, so lots of young people doing Bible study on a Wednesday night, having some cocoa or some mushrooms, marshmallows. That was later in my life. Could you? Some marshmallows is what I meant to say. Woo! There you go. Anyway, yeah, so some marshmallows, or going to church, singing, coming together, having a great lunch. We always had coffee and cake after church on a Sunday. It was really great to see these people on a regular basis. But my favorite ritual also was the big summer camps and youth camps that we used to run as well, where teenagers from all around the state would come together. We would be away from our parents. We'd stay up late. We'd bring huge bags of candy. This time not the drug kind, but huge bags of candy, and really celebrate and be a part of a community together. And that was really, really, really impactful for a young, developing person. Now let me draw your eyes to these rituals, which is on the parallel side. So maybe you had an onboarding recently, maybe you had another Zoom call, maybe you had another one-on-one chat. Maybe my favorite ritual, the Monday morning stand-up, which, someone thought, this is going too long. We need to all stand up so that we get tired quickly and we can move on faster through it. But then also someone's decided, no, I'm going to take it one step further. We're going to do the plank stand-up. Has anyone tried a plank stand-up before? Now you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so you can see these rituals aren't quite the same impactfulness as what we had before, right? So these religious rituals that I had and now my professional rituals, there seems to be a disconnect. So this is the power of rituals that I discovered reflecting upon how I grew up. So let me clarify for a second here, what is a ritual? A ritual is 2 parts. One is the easily repeatable actions. This is what you would normally call a habit or routine. I mean, you can read so many books about the powers of really controlling your habits, really controlling your routines. They define who we are often as people, how we live, who wakes up and checks their Instagram first thing in the morning. Ooh, okay, yeah, honest people, I like it, I appreciate it. Very, very good. I saw some shy hands there. Okay, yeah, I'm already embarrassed, sorry. But a ritual takes that a little bit further, where it's about intentful, embedded meaning. So connecting the embedded meaning, the values, the principles that we live by, what we value in our life or our communities, and connects it with those easily repeatable actions. Here's just a couple of few examples that might illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. So who flew here today? Not today, but who flew to this conference? Quite a few of us, yep. So when you go home and you talk to your friends and you say, you can imagine the difference of impact when you say something like, yeah, I went to a conference, I flew there, I went on this business trip, I learned lots of cool stuff. Or you could say something like, I went on a pilgrimage. I discovered myself. I had some interesting conversations that really opened up my eyes. The destination was the journey itself. You can really sense the difference of impact. I know, sorry about the tone of voice there, but you can really sense the difference kind of impact that a ritual has opposed to a routine or a habit that we might have. It also has the ability to turn simple food and dinner that we all must consume and eat into something like Thanksgiving or Passover or any of those other really significant meals where we come together, we be thankful, we reflect upon each other, we connect with the people that we're eating with, we don't sit by ourselves and gobble our food while the screen's on mute so that they don't hear us eating. Or it can turn something simple like a gift or a certificate into a ceremony. So I remember my graduation ceremony quite fondly. It was a great time when my parents actually showed up and they gave me, presents and then we took photos, and it was a really special kind of moment for me. And that's the difference between a ritual and just a genuine routine or a habit. So here are two good examples, one that is based in terms of way we work, and then one also in the products and services we create for others. So this one was from my time at IXDS, which was a design agency in Berlin. Sadly, it got bought out by PwC. Excitedly, it got bought out by PwC. And what would happen is it's called the birthday book ritual. Who really enjoys the birthday ritual? Normally it's like you go run to the kitchen, you sing happy birthday really awkwardly, everyone kind of trails off at the end because they forgot the person's name, and then you get your coffee and you run back to the desk as quickly as possible. So at this time, what we decided was we're going to reinvent this ritual here. What would happen is the office manager would come to you and say, what book would you like for your birthday? This was a connection between the value of knowledge and ever learning and continuous knowledge, and continuous learning to buy something that's actually valuable, something that you will keep. And what would happen is the office manager would buy that book twice. One book they would buy for you, and in that book, all of the colleagues would sign their name and give you a nice birthday message so that you remembered that you have colleagues. And the second time was bought for the library. So we had two versions, one for the person and one for the library. And then once your birthday had come and gone, you would come to the next all hands or the next team exchange or whatever you want to call it, the next campfire, maybe you call it that way. And therefore, you would present the book that you bought. I bought Good Services is my last book. It's a really great book about service design by Lou Dan. I recommend that you all go get it. And she's a fantastic designer. So I bought Good Services. And in that time, what you do is you explain why that book was important to you or you were interested to read that book, and also why you would think it's a good addition to the library that we all share. So in this ritual, we turned something that was very generic, very sometimes a little bit confusing. Do I have to put in 10 euros or 15 euros? I'm the manager, so maybe I should put in 20 euros to the pool. But it kind of took this confusion and turned it into a simple, repeatable step that was fair for everyone, that also kept our library up to date, and it also showed that the values and the principles of design agency, of you as a designer in our team, is significant and important. So that was one example. On the other side, I worked for a community of innovators called Factory Berlin. And, taking inspiration from Berghain, we wanted to be exclusive and special once you entered. So what we did here is for the onboarding ritual, we decided that, it's not just like a co-working space where you go, you pay, you check in, you book your desk, you go there, you work, and then you leave again. What we really wanted to do was create a sense of people space. And in that way, our onboarding experience was, we asked two specific questions on the onboarding survey. You actually had to apply to get in. You couldn't just pay for the desk and go. You weren't guaranteed entry, or we actually rejected almost, I think, 30 to 25% of applications, so there was a sense of exclusivity. But what we asked is two significant questions here that were aligned to the values of our company. Apologies. Which is, what do you want to learn from the community and why are you coming? What purpose brings you to this community? And secondly, what will you give to the community? Why do you think that you would be a good candidate for us and our community? And by aligning ourselves with the people that were coming in and setting these 2 questions, we were able to, one, curate the list of people that were joining our community, but secondly, we were able to actively onboard them and bring them into small groups and communities inside our community already existing. I've said the word community way too many times, and that was already existing, and really connect them with people that they would actually learn and could share with and develop with. So instantly, they were part of the community, and it wasn't this awkward exchange of having to meet people at the coffee place. So it's going really well. Factory Berlin, I think they're like 3,000, 4,000 members now. But these are just 2 examples of rituals that I find kind of interesting and that might inspire you. So I get a lot of people that ask me, yes, but how do I create a good ritual? Oh, lucky that you ask. Here's 3 good insights on a good ritual. This is where you grab out your pens and paper and go 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And so, yeah, here are 3 good insights on what I see are characteristics of good rituals. One is good rituals acknowledge. They give you a sense of celebration. They give you a sense of being important and valued within the community. But rituals acknowledge the individual, which is often quite what's missing, especially when we moved to remote or hybrid work. This sense of acknowledgement really, really seems to disappear. And it's often what you hear when it comes to building corporate culture or building strong communities is acknowledgement of the individual. So good rituals acknowledge. It might be as simple as having Hey Taco in your Slack, having a channel and a space when someone does something good or that's valuable or seen as a positive contribution to the community that you're in, that you can give them some sort of acknowledgement, that you can say, hey, this person that did this thing, I really think that's something that we should value in our community, so I'm going to acknowledge that person in Slack. At my time at Zalando, we had this celebration bell. This is quite a common practice, I think, sometimes. But whenever we achieved a KPI that was significant, whenever there was something that we thought was really amazing and we kind of set the standards, whoever achieved that KPI or objective, OKR, as you might want to call it, would ring that bell, and we would all celebrate that person and acknowledge that person for their work. It did get a little bit frustrating, but it's okay. Yeah, so it's not just the way we work, like I said, it's also the products and services we create for. So here's 2 good examples that I've seen in my daily life for products and services that have acknowledged me. So who's seen the Magic Unicorn? Yeah, from Asana, good to see some hands. Yeah, so when you see the Magic Unicorn, it's about acknowledging the person for doing something that that company values. Asana values productivity. You are being productive by checking off some arbitrary thing off a checklist, and therefore you get acknowledged by the Magical Unicorn. And one of my favorites is the MailChimp High Five. You know, that daunting task of spamming 1,000 people with your email, and then getting celebrated and acknowledged for doing that makes you feel like you're actually doing the right thing. And that's really, really important. Maybe they should have a bigger "are you sure?" but no, that's okay. Sorry, marketing people. So my second point is that good rituals connect. They bring people together and they develop a sense of network, community, and a sense of belonging. Where at my time at university, one of the great experiences that I had was also my time at the Design Factory Global Network. This was a joint project between a bunch of different universities. And one thing that they had was the hugging point. This was when we did tours of the space or that new people were joining. This was the point where you could go and say, hey, I'm okay to be hugged, or you can come say hi to me, or I want to connect with someone, I'm new here. And that hugging point was something that was common and connected the whole entire global network. Actually, I have that sticker on my door because I still feel so attached to that community, my door at home. Just so that they know that I want to hug outside and not inside my apartment. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So the other one might be something like the door desk onboarding from Amazon, so that you all go through the same ritual, you all belong together, and you all have a common shared experience. The door desk is that, famously, Jeff Bezos started on a desk that was made out of a door, and so all the new people start on a door, just for those that don't know. But it's not just the way in which we work, there's also good services and products that also leverage this rituals that connect. So who's ever attended an AMA or been on Reddit before? I apologize. But community events and events around common themes and issues is a great way to bring and network your community together. Another one which has been going on for many, many years is maybe a Ferrari owners club. I realize we're in Italy. Probably should change that one. No, is the car owners club. And I'm not a big fan of cars, but I can really appreciate this ritual to drive home and show the significance and value of owning a nice car. You know, in Berlin, we also have critical mass, and it's always great to connect over bike culture. But this ritual from Porsche, they really show that you can own this car, but you can also belong to the community, which drives home and creates more value for the end customer and end user. Whoever thought of that the first time? Genius. Yeah. So thirdly, good rituals develop. They leave you with more than you came from. And that's really, really important. Most rituals fail when there isn't enough return on investment for the individual. Sorry to talk really professional there, but they should allow you to keep developing, inspire you with new skills or learnings, or have something that's shown to you that you previously didn't see. So we run a design club at Zalando. We used to. Now we run a design club. I run a design club at TaxFix. And this is just really where designers can come together, share inspiration, connect, show their work, and get feedback in a safe and a psychologically safe and open kind of way. But also Spotify takes this to a whole new level where they have the fail fika. That isn't a swear word. It's when you have coffee and a Swedish scone. Really tasty, by the way. And that's where you can openly share your failures, so you can learn from other people, just like the people at Atlassian do, also sharing their failures, allowing time to learn from the failures of others, and having a centralized space to learn. This is also what happens with the fail fika, but in a fun and friendly and open atmosphere. So here are two great products and services that also leverage and develop you when you come to the ritual. Meditation practice from Headspace, in terms of it's not just about meditating and practicing this, but over time what you develop is a sense of self-understanding, self-awareness, and mental health. So that's something that you're developing through time of doing this repeated ritual with them. But also, if you come every year to this really cool conference that I heard called Intersection, I'm sure that you also, every time that you leave, you will be developing and want to come back again and again. So lastly, my little bonus one, my caveat for the 3 good principles is do what works. Most of the time, when people are doing rituals, and it's okay for rituals to stop, die, and relive. That's learned from Jesus. No, anyway, sorry. Yeah, but it's also really important to do what works for your community. What works at Zalando or TaxFix or at IXDS with the book ritual possibly isn't going to work for your team. And that's really important to recognize. And one thing that you can learn from designers that I hope you take away from this is to prototype your rituals. Try something, let it fail, ask for feedback, change it. Because if people can input to the rituals that they're creating and they can give feedback, they will take ownership of those rituals. And soon enough, they'll be begging for this ritual never, never to end, and they will be putting their hands up to run the rituals that you might have started and kicked off. So it's really important to do what works and to make it apply to specifically your community. That's how people can know that they're part of your community. Here's an overview. You can take a photo now. So remember, acknowledge them, connect them, develop them, but also do what works for them and your community. So I'm almost at the end. I'm sorry. Yes, we're almost there. It's almost lunchtime. Give me 2 more minutes and 3. So one thing that I wanted to warn you about, and why I believe it's so important for you to be conscious about the rituals that are in your life as an individual, the rituals that are in your life as a team and the work company and the place that you work with, but also the rituals that you create for others, especially that last one, the rituals that you create for others. One problem that I've discovered when I reflect upon my time when I was in that church and in that organization and community is as soon as I started to distance myself from the beliefs that were also celebrated in the community, as soon as my values changed or what I believed in changed, it became very apparent that I was no longer accepted in that community. It was very apparent to me, not by what anyone said. This is the thing, there was no explicit, well, Adam, you have different beliefs, so now we're going to remove you and don't ever talk to us again. There was nothing explicit like this. There was no foul play, there was no bad intentions. But what I realized is the rituals that brought me into that community, that gave me a sense of belonging and understanding and feeling of connectedness, were the exact same things that drove me away. And why this is really important is because if your ritual in your workplace is Friday night beers, that's the only ritual where people can connect on a social basis, is drinking after work. And I love a good drink after work, don't get me wrong, I'm not banning drinks after work, I'm not canceling anything, but what I wanted to make you aware of is that's your only ritual where people connect. You've just excluded all young parents, new parents, and people that can't stay late at work. You've also excluded people that can't drink and don't want to drink. Maybe they've had problems in their past, who knows? But that ritual implies to them and says to them, very, very under the radar, hey, you don't really belong to our team. And that's really, really, really bad, especially when we know now that diversity and inclusion is what makes great product teams. So that's really, really important to understand, and that's why it's really important that you're conscious about the rituals that you have. So maybe I've inspired you to make a change. Maybe I've inspired you to go back home and have a talk with someone in your team about what rituals you have. I'm going to share these slides around. Here's a really simple piece of paper that I call a template that you can steal and have a look at the rituals that you have, how often they are, what values they're communicating to the people that you're in, and also what values and explicitly how they're going to work for your community and what makes them special for your community as well. Okay, that's enough from my point of view. I'm obviously still getting to know what ritual design is and exploring this space, but there are people and giants that I stand on the shoulders of. So I want to acknowledge Corzat and Margaret, who have written 2 really, really good books. They also work in the Ritual Design Lab in Stanford, Rituals for Work and Rituals for Virtual Meetings. If you're missing a creative ritual and you need a step-by-step guide, go get these 2 books. I don't get any credit from them, but they're really nice people as well. If you want to hear the Atheism 2.0 talk from Alain de Botton, it's that one. And another good book that I recommend is The Art of Community by Charles Vogel. So these are really good collections if you want to increase your knowledge about rituals. So that's all from me. Woo, one too many. I don't know if we have any time for questions, but what I would like to try is let's make this lunch a little bit special. Let's steal from a religious ritual. And if you're eating with someone or you see someone standing by themselves, well, don't go and annoy them, but if you want to go talk with someone or eat with someone, why not take a moment, like 1-2 minutes, and just say, hey, what are you thankful for? Maybe it's something that you learned at the conference, maybe it's something in your life that's happening, and take a moment to share some thanks. Simple as that. I hope you're on board. Thank you. Thank you.